Hello, welcome to the notes on area of circles. I just want to give you a heads up that we will need a scientific calculator for this topic, so please make sure that you locate that now. If you don't have a scientific calculator, I've gone to my good friend Google and I typed in scientific calculator and this popped up. What we're really focusing on today that we need to make sure we have is the pi button, and that's where the pi button is located here. So take a moment to try and find the pi button on your calculator. If you can't find it, please let me know. So our key concept for today is just we're using the formula A equals pi r squared. Unlike yesterday, where the the circumference of circles, where we had two formulas, there's only one formula that we can use to find the area of a circle, and it is A equals pi r squared. And you are not required to have this memorized, so don't worry about using your brain space for that. I am reminding you here that you need to use the pi button on your calculator unless it asks you to leave your answer in terms of pi, and that your units are squared. So for example, we would have feet squared or inches squared. And we're just going to jump right into these examples. Example number 1 says that the distance of intense shaking from the epicenter of a particular earthquake to the outer edge was about 134 miles. To the nearest square mile, what was the area of intense shaking? So they are reminding me that I want to have the nearest square mile here. So that's reminding me where to round. So when you're looking at this shape here, they are telling you that each of these circles, represents a distance away from the epicenter. So they are just giving us that the radius of one of these circles happens to be 134 miles, because they said from the epicenter to the edge of a particular circle. So that is our radius. So we use our formula. You write your formula down. Don't skimp on this part. We will then substitute the 134 in place of the radius. And now we'll see that we have multiplication and that we're squaring a number. So be careful here. Order of operations states that we will do the exponents first. So if you don't have a square button on your calculator, 134 squared means to go 134 times 134, and that equals 17,956. Then you're going to multiply that by pi, so you can leave that number in your calculator, hit times, the pi button equals, and we will get our answer. Again, they asked us to go to the nearest square miles. That means we're just going to the nearest whole number, so it appears that it is 56,410. Okay, and the unit was miles, so it would be miles squared. Please make sure that you don't go like squared miles like this, because when you write that, it would make it look like you're squaring the number, so that's not accurate, okay? It's miles squared, or if you wanted to, you could put squared miles like that. Okay? I'm going to just do number 2 with you, only because there's 2 different ways to answer the question, and they're asking for what is the area of a circle with a radius of 3 2/10. So if I have a circle with a radius of 3 2/10, they are looking for me to leave my answer in terms of pi, and then what is the area when you multiply. So again, we're going to get used to this formula, A equals pi r squared. They're giving us the radius of 3 2/10, and we're squaring them. So our answer in terms of pi will just be what 3 2/10 squared is, which here, 3 2/10 times 3 2/10. Oh wow, I'm on fire today. Equals 10 24 hundredths. So 10 24 hundredths, pi would be your answer in terms of pi. So we can go ahead and write that down on the line. And then what's the area when you multiply? Well, now they're asking you to take the 10 24 hundredths and now multiply by pi, which will give us 32, and this question didn't ask us to where to round, so I'm just going to go to the nearest tenth. Since I'm multiplying by pi, and pi is an irrational number, meaning it's a decimal that never ends, I'm obviously going to get a decimal that never ends as well. So let's just round to the nearest tenth, which is going to be 32 2/10 miles squared. Question number 3 says that the diameter of the eye of a certain hurricane was 30 miles. To the nearest square mile, what was the area of the eye? So again, we're looking for the nearest square mile. And this time, instead of them giving us the diameter or the radius, they are giving us a diameter of 30 miles. So we want to be clear that if the diameter is 30, we know that the radius will be half that, so that's going to be 15. Okay, and just for fun, I will put a equals pi r squared, substitute in the 15 in place of the radius. We go through. I will square 15 first, which will give me 225, and then 225 times pi, rounded to the nearest whole number, will be 707 miles squared. So on to number 4. Go ahead, give that one a try. When you come back, it will be all complete. Okay, so this time again they gave me the diameter, which means I need to find the radius. What I've done with my work is what I've highlighted is a step that some of you might show and some of you might not show. And I'm just highlighting it to say, it's okay if you have it, it's okay if you don't. If you only had these 3 steps shown, that would be perfectly fine as well. All right, moving on to number 5. They say that one crop circle has a diameter of 40 feet and another has a diameter of 80 feet. Is the area of the larger crop circle twice that of the smaller circle? They would like us to justify our answer. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to find the area of each of these circles, and I will label which circle it is that I'm doing. So the large circle has a blue diameter and the small circle has a red, so I'll just do my work in the appropriate colors. I will be using the A equals pi r squared formula for both of these, since I'm talking about circles and they want me to figure out the areas. They gave me the diameters for both of them, so that would mean that the radius on this one would be 40, and the radius on the smaller one would be 20. We go through, we substitute this in, and I'm really just going to write my work and let you kind of follow along. I'm sorry, I take that back. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to leave my answers in terms of pi. So I'm going to find that 40 squared is actually 1600, and then I'm going to leave my answer in terms of pi. For the small circle, 20 squared, so my area in terms of pi is 400 pi. And since they want me to figure out how many times larger the large circle is, I can now just take my 2 answers and I can divide them. So I can take the 1600 pi divided by the 400 pi. The pi's cancel out, and then I can cross off 0, cross off another set of 0, and 16 divided by 4 is just going to give me 4. So I was actually able to calculate this problem out without the use of a calculator. If you had multiplied by pi, you would have rounded your answers. So for example, I would have had 5,027 here, and I would have had 1,257. And when you divide those, you wouldn't get a whole number. You would get a decimal. So I just want to show you that real quick. And that decimal does round up to 4. So to get an exact amount, I just left my answer in terms of pi because I could cross them off. So I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and work on number 6. And again, when you come back, it will be complete. All right, so again, just like the previous question, I found the area of both circles. I had to take the diameter of both those circles divided by 2 to get the radius. I then kept my answers for the areas in terms of pi and divided the larger circle by the smaller circle to then get an answer of 9. Again, if you have any questions on how to use your calculators, please be sure to ask me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.